Hello everyone, welcome to Educare 247. This is the 22nd lecture on our special revision series for SEBI Grade A 2020 examinations. In this lecture, we will be discussing the MCQs on derivatives. Derivatives is a part of the syllabus of finance for SEBI Grade A examinations. Students generally find this topic a bit difficult because it is somewhat technical and many new terminologies are used in this chapter. But if you understand the concept, then it's quite simple and very interesting also. So in this video, we'll try to clear our concept regarding the basics of derivatives. Question number 1. Example of derivative securities is A. Return-backed security, B. Mortgage-backed security, C. Cash flow-backed security, or D. Interest-backed security. So the answer to this question is B. Mortgage-backed security. Now to understand this answer, you have to first understand the concept of derivatives. A derivative is a financial security whose value is reliant upon or derived from an underlying asset. So the derivative, it does not have a value of its own. Its value is derived from the value of the underlying asset. The underlying asset can be any asset such as your stocks, bonds, commodities, currencies, interest rates, or market indices. The derivative itself is a contract between two or more parties, and the contract derives its price from fluctuation in the price of the underlying assets. Okay, to understand this concept better, let us take the help of an example. Let's say there is a limited edition sports car available in the market. Only 500 pieces of sports car is available, and to buy the sports car you have to make an advance payment of 10 lakh rupees 3 months in advance. Okay, you and your friend both want to buy the sports car. So your friend, he made an advance payment of 10 lakhs and now he has received the right to buy the sports car. So 3 months down the line he can buy the sports car now. But you, on the other hand, you were unable to make the advance payment on time, so you did not receive the right. So now you are unable to buy the sports car. Now you have to remember that there are only 500 pieces of this sports car, and there are many people like you who are unable to get the right to buy the sports car for some reason or the other. Now what happens is, after some time, your friend feels that he does not need the sports car after all. He does not want to buy, but he has the right. So what does he do? He calls you and he tells you, hey, listen, I don't want to buy the sports car, so I am willing to sell you the right to buy the sports car, but you have to pay me a little bit extra money to buy the right. So you ask him, what extra money do you have to pay? So he tells you, you give me 11 lakh rupees. I paid 10 lakh rupees to receive the right. If you give me 11 lakh rupees, then I am willing to sell you the right. Now, since you really wanted to buy the sports car, you agree to pay 11 lakh rupees. So you and your friend, you enter into a contract where you are willing to pay 1 lakh rupees extra to buy this limited edition sports car. So the value of your contract is 1 lakh rupees, right? Now, the contract here is an example of a derivative instrument because the contract itself derives its value from the value of this underlying asset, that is sports car. If the sports car was not valuable, if it was available in unlimited quantity, then you would have never agreed to pay 1 lakh rupees extra, right? Only because this is in limited edition and it's valuable, so you are willing to enter into this contract. So this is a simple example of a derivative instrument, a contract which derives its value from the value of this underlying instrument. Now imagine this kind of contract happening on a large scale, and imagine the underlying assets to be your stocks or bonds or commodities, shares. So this is how derivative works in a standardized market. Now coming to the question, example of derivatives. Now first option is return back security. See, when you buy a security, you are always expecting some kind of return on it, right? Either in the form of cash flow, dividends, or in the form of interest. So a security with cash flow or which provides you interest, they are just normal security. They are not derivative instruments. But a mortgage-backed security is a security whose value depends on the value of this mortgage. The price of the mortgage fluctuates and hence your security derives its value, right? So this is an example of a derivative instrument. In option A, C and D, there is no any underlying asset whose value, there's no any underlying asset on which the value of your security is dependent. But in option B, there is an underlying asset, that is mortgage, on which the value of your security is dependent. So the answer here is D. Question number 2. Which of the following statement about future contracts is wrong? Option A. A future contract is a marketable forward contract. Future contracts have standardized features and a clearinghouse to mitigate default risk. C. Future contracts can be used to fix the future selling price regardless of future changes in spot market. Or D. None of the above. Answer here is none of the above, which means that all these options are correct. Now in this question, we are introduced to two new types of derivative contracts. The first one is a forward contract, and the second is your future contract. Now let us try and understand what forward contract is, because future contract is simply the standardized form of your forward contract. So what is a forward contract? A forward contract is a contract between two parties who agree to buy or sell an underlying asset at a specific price. So the price is fixed, right? And sometimes in the future. So you already fixed a future price today and you are going to trade in that specific fixed price only, right? So let us take an example. Let's say there is a buyer who wants to buy a commodity. Let's say this commodity is gold, right? Now the current price of the gold, 1 gram of gold, let's say is 5,000. And the buyer worries that in future, in 1 month's time, the price of the gold will rise to 5,500. So what does he do? He enters into a forward contract where he can buy the gold at 5,200 rupees. So he is expecting the price to rise to 5,500, and by entering into a contract to buy at 5,200, he feels that he can save 300 rupees per gram. Now on the other hand, the seller, he believes that the price will fall down. He believes that the price will fall down to 4,900, let's say, and he is more than happy to enter into a contract to sell at 5,200. Now let's say in 1 month's time, the price did not change and it remained 5,000 in only. Now what happens? The seller is happy because the market price is 5,000 and he is able to sell at more than market price, at rupees 200 extra than the market price. But the buyer here is unhappy because if he had not entered into the contract, then he could have bought for 5,000 rupees. But now since he has entered into the contract, he has to buy at 200 rupees extra. So as you see, there is always a winner and always a loser in a forward contract. One party will gain and the other party will lose. Now imagine the same kind of contract happening on a standardized stock exchange where the people are not actually interested in getting the physical delivery of the gold, but they are just interested to make profit out of the fluctuating price of commodities. So that is what futures is all about. Now you've understood forward contract. So in the next question, we will look at future contract in detail. Educare offers various courses for SEBI Grade A examinations. We have comprehensive courses for SEBI Grade A 2020, which includes syllabus of both paper 1 and 2. Then we have MCQ courses for SEBI Grade A 2020 for paper 2. And we also have SEBI Grade A 2020 crash course for phase 1 and 2. You can apply with coupon code SEBI and avail discount on comprehensive courses and crash courses. However, since MCQ courses are already at a discounted price, no further discount is available in this course. You can enroll on these various courses on the basis of your preparation phase. Question number 3. An individual who expects that prices for some assets will rise in the future is said to take a long position, B, short position, C, worst case scenario, or D, current spot position? So answer to this question is A, long position. Now to understand the concept of long position and short position, we have to understand a future market in a bit more detail. Now we've already understood forward market, right? In that market, a fixed future price was determined at which the commodities could be traded. Now future market is also similar because here also a fixed future price is determined on which shares or other commodities can be traded. But unlike forward market, in future market, the parties are not actually interested in the physical delivery of goods. They are just here in the future market to make profit out of their speculation, to gamble basically. Okay, so now let us understand this with the help of an example. Let's say the spot price of a share is rupees 90. Spot price is the current market price, is 90, and the future price of the same share is rupees 100. Future price is the fixed price at which the shares can be bought or sold in future. So at rupees 100 a speculator can buy share, or at rupees 100 a speculator can sell shares, right? So now let us assume that there are two speculators, A and B. A assumes that the price of the share will further rise in future. So what does he do? He enters into a contract to buy shares at rupees 100 so that when the price rises, he can sell at a higher price and earn profit. On the other hand, B, he assumes that the price will fall down in future, so he enters into a contract to sell at rupees 100 so that he can buy at a lower price and still make profit. Okay, so the position taken by A to buy the futures is called a long position. Here A is optimistic about the future, that's why he has taken a position to buy, and that position is called long position. And the position taken by B to sell future is called short position. So in our question as well, an individual expects that the price will rise, right? So he will enter into a future to buy. He will take a long position similar to speculator A, right? Now let's say at a future date the price actually rose to rupees 150. So now what happened? A is going to make profit here because whatever he speculated, it came true, right? So he will buy at rupees 100 and he will sell at the market price, that is 150, and earn a profit of rupees 50. On the other hand, the speculation of B came incorrect, right? Now he will have to sell at 100, but he will have to buy at a higher market price, that is 150. So he will make a loss of rupees 50. So this is how a future market works. Now there are many speculators like A and B who speculate on the price of different shares. Now one interesting aspect of the future market is that the speculators A and B, they actually do not know each other and they are not into a contract with each other. In fact, both the parties, they are into the contract with the stock exchange, and whatever profit or loss they will be making in the contract with stock exchange. So this is not a one-to-one contract like a forward contract, right? Here the parties, the speculators, they are going into a contract with the stock exchange itself, and there are 1,000 speculators who are speculating at the same time. So this is the overall picture of a simple future contract. So I hope you've understood the concept of going long and going short, the long position and short position. Now moving on to question number 4. If you expect the British pound to appreciate, you could speculate by dash pound call option or dash pound put option. A, purchasing selling, B, purchasing, C, selling, or D, selling purchasing. So the answer to this question is A, purchasing selling. But we'll come to the answer later. First, let us understand a new kind of derivative introduced in this question, that is your options, right? Now there are two kind of option. The first is your call option, which is an option to buy a stock at a fixed price, and the second is your put option, which is an option to sell a stock at a fixed price. Alright, now coming to the scenario of the question, you expect the British pound to appreciate, right? So let us imagine that the strike price or the exercise price of the option is rupees 100. This means that you can either buy the pound at rupees 100 if you purchase a call option, or you have the option to sell the British pound at rupees 100 if you buy a put option, right? Now since you expect it to appreciate, you expect the pound to appreciate, let's say you expect it to appreciate to 150. So in this scenario, what you would like to do is, you would like to have an option to buy the British pound at rupees 100, so that when it appreciates to 150, you can sell it at 150 and then earn a profit of rupees 50. So in this case, you would like to have an option to buy a stock, right? So you would purchase a call option. So the answer to this first part is you would purchase a pound call option. So this is how you can make profit, by purchasing option. But can you also make profit in this situation by selling an option? Yes, you can make profit by selling a put option. And how? Let's see. See, when you sell an option, you charge a commission or a premium, right? So let's say you sold a put option to someone and you charged rupees 20 as your commission. So this rupees 20 is your income. Now you have given someone else the right to sell the pound at rupees 100 in future, right? But you expect the price to increase to 150. So what will happen? The person who has bought the option from you, he will rather sell his pound in the market at rupees 150 than sell to you at rupees 100. Okay, so he will not exercise his option, the put option which he brought from you. He will not exercise this option, and your earning will be saved. He will not bother you on a further date, and your 20 rupees earning will be saved. So in this way, by selling a put option also, you can make some profit out of the commission charged or out of the premium charged by selling the option. So the second option here would be your by selling pound put option. So if you expect the British pound to appreciate, you would purchase a call option and sell a put option. If the situation was just the opposite, if you had expected the British pound to depreciate, then you would have done exactly opposite. You would have you would have bought a pound put option here, right? And you would have sold a pound call option. So you would have done exactly opposite. All right, I hope you understood this question. Now let's question number 5. An investment strategy that requires no outlay of an investor's own money to generate positive riskless profit is called A. Arbitrage, B. Hedging, C. Speculating, or D. Risk seeking. So the answer here is A. Arbitrage. See, arbitrage is the purchase and sale of an asset in order to profit from a difference in assets price between markets. So let us understand all of these terms first. The arbitrage, hedging, speculating. So derivative contracts are entered for 3 main purposes. The first one is your hedging. Hedging means simply reducing the risk. Like in the example of forward contract, where the buyer was trying to reduce his risk that arises from increasing in price of gold, right? So he entered into a forward contract where he fixed a price for the gold. So that is hedging. Now, when we studied the future contracts, we saw that people speculate and they want to make money. They want to gamble on the increasing or decreasing prices of shares, right? So that is another purpose. Speculating is another purpose for entering into a derivative contracts. And the third purpose is arbitrage. Now, arbitrage is a way to make riskless profit which arises from difference in assets price between markets. So let's understand this better with the help of this example. So let's say there are two markets, market 1 and market 2. And the commodity we are dealing with is ice cream here. So the price of the ice cream in market 1 is $1 and in market 2 is $5. So what you can do is you can simply buy the ice cream in market 1 and you can sell the ice cream in market 2, and you can make $4 gain by in between, right? So this is just a simple, very easy example of arbitrage. Of course, in real life, you cannot sell ice cream to make arbitrage, but other commodities like the gold market or the foreign currency markets, you can make arbitrage if the price of those commodities is different in different markets. So you can buy from a market where the price is low and sell in a market where the price is high and make gain in between. So this simple way of making gain, of making riskless profit, is called arbitrage. See, it's not like you always get an opportunity to make arbitrage in real life, but sometimes when there is a difference in two markets, then you can make arbitrage. So with this, we've come to the end of the video. I hope you found the video useful. If you like the video, then do share the video as well, and stay subscribed to the channel for more videos on different topics for SEBI Grade A examinations. Thank you.